Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Opera 101 with Cleveland Opera Theater. Opera 101 is our series where we discuss all things opera and take you into this strange and wonderful world of ours. This month, as you have probably heard, as Stephanie talked about yesterday, we are talking about Rossini. And Rossini is the kind of first big composer of the tradition that we now call bel canto, which means beautiful singing. And in order to effectively perform any bel canto music, there are certain things that we have to take into consideration. And today, we'd like to talk a little bit about just a few of the things that any musician, singer, conductor, orchestral player has to take into account when doing a Rossini opera. Um, One of the biggest traits of bel canto opera is the freedom that singers have to embellish what's written in the score. Um, what you see in front of you in the score is could be very different from how it's performed. It's in a lot of ways kind of a blueprint. And as Stephanie talked a bit yesterday about, most of the arias are two-part. There is a slow A section followed by a faster B section. On the slower introductory A section, the singer usually has freedom with tempo, freedom to embellish with different runs, adding notes, interpolating, which means kind of putting in additional little note passages. So as a conductor, one needs to be very on the same page with the singer. We need to know exactly what they're doing. Where are they taking time? What sort of variations are they doing? Where are they doing them? Where might they not be doing it? There is kind of this two-way relay of information where the conductor has to follow the singer and the orchestra has to follow the conductor. So any sort of last-minute adjustment doesn't quite work, and this all needs to be thought out in the rehearsal process. So typically the conductor and the singer doing the aria will get together at the very beginning of the rehearsal process and talk through this aspect of the aria. You know, are you going to take time here? How are you going to do this? Some conductors will write a note in their score, others will just remember. Everyone has their own way of doing it, but this is an extremely important part of performing this music. If one were to just perform a Rossini aria straight as written, it wouldn't have a lot of the charm that we associate with this music and a lot of the real beauty in showcasing the voice, and that's what this music is about. When you look at the B section, the faster section, typically everything is done twice. The first time a singer will do it pretty much as written, pretty straight, but the second time they will absolutely embellish with variations. And Rossini knew this was exactly what he intended to happen, which is why he'll usually just give you the same text twice in a row. The first time, the audience needs to be able to hear and understand the text, what's going on. It's in an aria, so it's usually some emotional response to something or an introduction, as in if it's in a cavatina. So the audience hears and understands the text the first time. The second time, however, it's not as important. We know the text, we know what's happening, we know what's going on. The second time is fully just for the singer to be a rock star and show off all the things that they can do with this. That's not to say things like diction and vowel placement are not important. It's just not what we're focusing on. We are focusing on the amazing ability that these singers have and what they can do with this. So as the conductor, we need to be aware of that, and we need to be able to adjust what's going on. Sometimes we take a little slower or faster tempo based on the variations. Sometimes we start a little slower and push the tempo. A lot of singers have their own variations that they have figured out and that they like to do, which is awesome. And it's our job as a conductor to understand what they're doing, make note of it, and take that to the orchestra for rehearsal. And say, this is what's happening. This is what we need to do to support that. Sometimes conductors and singers or coaches and singers will come up with the variations together if the singer doesn't have any coming into it. Any of these processes are great and wonderful. There just needs to be a very efficient communication and quick adjustment for what's going on. In terms of ensembles, the same thing applies. Typically in duets, trios, there is also room for variation, for embellishment. In this case, it's the same process, just with multiple people. And the other singers need to be aware of what one singer might be doing, and will need to talk it through. Maybe something that a mezzo has done repeatedly when she's done the role of Rosina is not quite working for the baritone singing Figaro when they have to sing together. We need to figure out something that works. So getting this kind of initial planning with these embellishments, with these variations, applies to all aspects of the opera and is a huge part of what we do in the coaching and rehearsal process when we do a Rossini opera. Another trait about Rossini is he was a master at writing finali. A typical Act 1 finale to an Act 2 Rossini opera, or an Act 2 finale to a 3-act Rossini opera is it can be between 20 and 30 minutes. It's a very long musical number, and is usually is pretty much always just expertly written. Such amazing structure, such amazing pacing. As performers, we really need to highlight the pacing of this. It's very difficult, and typically Rossini writes the most difficult music of these finali at the very end. So retaining focus, not giving too much too soon, being able to have enough left over when you get to the really fast, very difficult music at the end of the finale is a very, very important part in performing these musical numbers. In terms of the orchestra, we need to play very light. And describing light playing is a little difficult, but it's very, it's light. It's not too loud and very on the beat, as opposed to if you think of like a big German opera like Wagner, or a German symphony like Mahler or Brahms, there is kind of this heavy weight to it. With Rossini, we can't play that way. It has to be very crisp, very on the beat, and a lot of times there is a lot more stasis in what we do orchestrally, because it's our job in the orchestra to create essentially a canvas on which the singer paints this amazing masterwork with their voice. We can't get in the way. And it's for this part that, you get a lot of moments in Rossini operas where the orchestra is basically just going jump, 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 and there's not a lot going on. It's difficult to do this the right way, though, because it has to still be engaging and it still has to follow the phrase structure. What Rossini does, though, is he gives the orchestra such amazing music in terms of his overtures and in terms of his interludes. The famous Storm from Barber of Seville is a great example. And Rossini was such a great orchestrator that he gives, although certain numbers may not be the most exciting music for orchestral players to play, there is always a certain part or several parts to a Rossini opera where he gives the orchestra something to really dig into. The overture, any interludes, the finale are usually expertly written for the orchestra and have just amazing passages. It highlights a lot of soloists throughout an opera. So it gives the orchestra their parts to really shine, to really sink their teeth into, while also having certain numbers where the orchestra is essentially just accompaniment and not much more. In terms of the chorus, I know we've talked a lot about Italian opera chorus in this, and it's basically all the rules that apply. The text is so important, and a very short, crisp manner of singing is very important. The chorus basically just keeps the action going, and especially in certain finale, they are the rhythmic engine to keep the soloists going. The soloists are basically doing this very difficult, tight, fast music with a lot of runs, and the chorus is there just to keep a rhythmic engine going. No nuance. We kind of sometimes have to turn off our musical instincts and be like, this is our role. We are keeping this going. We are singing short, and we are just pushing everyone. These are a couple things that we have to think about when we put on a Rossini opera. If anyone has any questions, wants to hear any more detail about something, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we will see you again soon. Be safe, everyone. Thank you.